I can get started with a little exercise, icebreaker exercise.
That sounds great.
Okay. So I want to try testing this out. It's an application called Jamboard, and some of the folks may have already used it. I posted a link in the chat. You can click on that, and I want to test it to see everyone has access. So I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'll see if I can work out any kinks. And it won't detract from the meeting if it doesn't work. So. Are you able to see a new page here? It's like a blue screen with a couple of sticky notes on it.
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, so let me share it. There we go.
I'm able to see the link, Katie, if that's what you're asking, and I'm able to follow it.
Okay. All right, so let me just welcome everybody. We may get some few people joining a couple minutes late. That is fine. I wanted to try a Jamboard exercise. I've got 6 different slides here, and I know the forum has a lot of people that I already know, but there are a few people that I don't. So I thought this might be a good way to get to know folks. If I see there's a bunch of people up here that have already joined. I shared the link to public, so it should be, you should be able to use it. So we'll see how it goes. So what you do, I have 2 questions up here. Where are you from and what organization do you represent? And in order to add to it, you can go to this little box over here on the left-hand side that says sticky note. You click on that and a sticky note should appear. And you should be able to type in, something here. And then you click save. And then you can move it under the column that you want.
Katie, I think a lot of us still have view-only privileges.
Really? Okay.
So you can make it public, but you also have to toggle down on the edit. I don't know, Google gives you 2 toggles you got to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I can see it.
Can you create a post-it?
Let's see.
So I shared it. Maybe you guys could help me through this here. I didn't want to have to add.
Yeah, I view only mode on mine.
Yeah, so Katie, click that. When you go to share, you got to click that change button, anyone, click change, and then go up to the right above done. And now we can edit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've lost 10 minutes of workshops to that myself.
Yeah. That's why I thought it'd be good to get to start with an icebreaker. It also helps when people come in and then they can get to use a new tool or a different tool. So so I've got a couple of pages here. Yeah, I got Alameda. You can. It's just kind of nice to see where everybody's from and then what organization, or if you're not affiliated with the organization, you don't have to write that in there. So we'll start with this one. I'll just move you down. Wait, Martinez, Sacramento. Standard design, cool.
Katie, Sophia is our contractor for the Great Delta Trail Master Plan.
Oh, awesome.
Sophia at Xander Design.
Oh, great, great. And yes, you can also go in here and doodle if you want to. Which is kind of a neat feature. Nice. It's kind of fun seeing this populate Hercules. East Bay. Catalog it. That's an interesting organization. I'd like to learn more about that. Okay. cool. So a lot of Sacramento, which is good. I figured that. Army Corps, Hercules. Okay, cool. You guys can continue to add to this. This is awesome. And then another thing, if you go up to where it says next frame, if you have the link, you can go to this next page. And I'd love to see what you love about the Delta. And we already have someone that says peaceful fall on Bethel Island and Frank's Tract. Water, great. Salmon. And I'll let you know that this, I'm actually going to be using this information to help us with the interpretive plans. So this is awesome because it helps to know, you know, what people really enjoy, and if we're make sure we are meeting, the plan meets the at least what, you know, we're hearing from the public and from folks who work in the Delta, you know, what they love about it, and it could help us form our goals. Communities, love it. Gorgeous sunrises and sunsets. Cultural history, open space. Love it. So many stories. Taco truck and oh, I gotta visit this taco truck in Vero Vista. So if I go, how do I know it's the right one? Delta farming, wildlife, rich history, peaceful beauty and agriculture. So I don't see urban noise. That's good.
And I haven't been able to do a sticky note yet for some reason. I'm double clicking on the icon,
Okay.
but I don't get there's the screen to type. Is that what you did?
Yeah, so you don't have to click on it once, like that.
Oh, just once, okay.
Try that. And if someone can monitor the chat for me, I can't do both. Blake, if you could do that.
I can do that, Kate.
Okay, great. All right. So we've got another one, roadside vendors. Yeah. Syncretic culture. What is syncretic culture? I don't know that.
Well, when you said you were writing the plan, I wanted to just sort of help with cultures coming together and forming a new culture out of two or out of many.
That's very cool. I didn't know that term.
Usually used with regards to religion.
Okay.
But this is a religion, whether we like it or not.
It is. Okay, we already have some things here. What do you want to learn more about? So this helps me get some ideas on, you know, what do we need to focus on? Are there any gaps in what's currently there, and just personal interest. So I put down the cultural history of towns, how to integrate DHA plans into East Bay Regional Park District planning for Northeast Contra Costa. I think I know who wrote that. So feel free to, we'll come back to this. Ooh, I've got a couple more, so I'll just show you. So if you get bored with my talk, then you can come over here to the Jamboard and fill it out. So let me go through the slides if you're just starting to look at them. So what do you want to learn more about? If you were a teacher, where would you take your students? This is a fun one too, because, you know, we want to make sure that we are including, you know, educational curriculum and things into this plan. And what are some fun places or some places that you would take a student to? And it doesn't matter what age. If you could put down an age group if you'd like. And then the last one here, let's see, do I have another one? Nope, the last one is, what activities would you like to see more of in the Delta? And it could be any activity. It could be guided tours, it could be recreation, could be places to, you know, things to do, places to see, more trail connections. Yeah, so you guys are getting it. This is great. And so these types of things here, this one will help me look at, you know, some of those interpretive connections we can make for some of these things. Safe bike rides. So maybe we need more safety education, for example, for folks. Boating excursions, we could definitely have some interpretation go along with the boating, or places to park and walk. See, this is all good stuff. And then I'm going to do one more here. I'm going to call it parking lot. That's not your physical parking lot. This is your theoretical parking lot. So things that maybe I didn't touch on that you want to talk about, or just bring up, or just remind me of some things. So questions, things like that, you can put in this parking lot page. Okay. So I'm going to go back through these real quick, and then I'll go and start the meeting. Clean water. I would say clean water from the Sierra. Yeah, that's nice. We could talk about the watershed, that's for sure, and water conveyance and all that good stuff. Accountability. Okay.
Sorry, that was a cheap shot.
It's
But,
okay.
has to be said.
Yes, it does. No, unless it's inflammatory, I think we should put anything we feel like is important here. So let me just see what some of the other folks have been saying down here. Benicia, what places would you take students? I'm going to move this up here. Portugal. See, I need to go to these places too. This is awesome. Sandhill Cranes, yes. John Muir National Historic Site, De Anza Trail Promontory on a clear day. I would actually like to take the full De Anza Trail all the way down to San Diego. That would be really interesting. Capitol Corridor train, that's fun. That's a lot of fun for kids, especially. Great. Okay, let me see what we've got here on what do you want to learn more about? How communities connect across water instead of the freeways. How to connect all the cities and towns on a regular basis. Residency tenure and history of different communities and groups moving in and out of the Delta over time. Definitely. Flood control and water supply for Southern California. Indigenous history. Great places to tent camp. Yay! Personally, I would love to do a bike tent camping tour of the Delta. I think that would be fun. Who lives here now? Indigenous people, past and present. Let's see. History of hunting and fishing in the Delta across all socioeconomic groups. Yeah, great. Okay. Got some good stories. I still want to know about that taco truck. And this one disappeared. Someone must have accidentally erased it. There we go. Nope. Nope. I have no idea. Well, when you give everybody control, the power, things happen. All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. Since I have a lot of the same folks, I'm still going to provide the basic background information, and then maybe we'll have more areas for discussion then. So let me do this. As you can see, we started with the Jamboard, so this is great. Please don't delete the Jamboard. And like I said, many of you have seen this before, but I just wanted to do an overview of interpretation, why we do it. So what is interpretation? Are you able to see my PowerPoint, by the way? Are you still seeing this?
We're looking at the Jamboard.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the Jamboard. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I've got the PowerPoint up. So, what is interpretation? So interpretation is really, it's just a means of connecting stories to visitors and the resource. And it's really communication. It helps interpretive themes, which we are working on right now, help define the why. Why is it important? Why here? interpreters are visitor experience specialists. So if you work in a visitor center, you work in historical society, or you give tours or plan events, or you're a visitor experience specialist. Congratulations. Interpretive planning provides a content roadmap to help guide education programs and visitor experiences. So this is what this interpretive plan is going to help do. It's going to be a framework for all of the interpretive providers, for marketing, for a Chamber of Commerce's, to really see what is available education-wise and activities in the Delta. So will be a tool that can help these sites further develop programs. And it also includes recommendations for interpretive methods. So interpretive method is how you present the information. It could be online media, could be in person, could be an interpretive panel, that you see on the side of the road. It could be a brochure, anything like that. It also includes recommendations for collaboration. So one of the things about the Delta is that it's this huge landscape. And so it's going to make recommendations for how people can partner and collaborate with each other. And then also, into the future, the management plan should last. I don't know about this Delta plan, but state park plans, general plans, management plans usually last 15 to 20 years. So it's a long range plan. Any questions about what interpretation is? Okay. So we had some work on some interpretive themes. So I wanted, and as I said, a lot of you have already helped write these themes and helped develop them. And so they're not going to be new for you, but for the folks who haven't heard about it, I'll just go over these briefly. So the main themes, we have an overarching theme, which kind of covers, it's like the umbrella for the entire interpretive plan for the Delta. And then we have categories, primary themes, and then themes that are related to the primary themes. They're called sub-themes. I don't expect you to remember that, but it's just some terminology there. And so we gathered this information from working groups. We have a interpretive task group. We also have the Delta Advisory Group. We had 2 public meetings as well. And so we gathered input, and we're working on refining our interpretive themes, or major topic areas. And this will help guide some of those stories and the structure around how you would do your interpretation at your locations. And so the next step for this would be to for the interpretive staff, or if you belong to a specific location, you can take what the framework we have and then develop it to meet your needs at your specific location. So I'll go through a few examples here. So these are some of the interpretive themes. Our primary themes are broken up into major topic areas. So our first one is topography and natural processes. And this one discusses the delta as being aware inland delta and the largest estuary. And the categories that kind of go with that is how is it created, is habitat for plants and animals. So you can really, like, the framework, or you can really look at anything that's the natural process or natural resource related here. How the water moves through the delta, the watershed, that fact that it's unique in the United States, and the health of the land, and how how is it changed over time. So there's a lot of things that you can talk about with this one theme. And I can stop and then get questions after each one of these, or if you'd like more information, or I can continue. Okay. The second theme talks about land use. And it's really focused on how humans have transformed this land. It's a highly managed landscape, highly engineered landscape. And so this one really talks about the history of that conversion from marshland to farmland and the reclamation projects, but also the effects of that. Who built the levees? Who engineered the bridges and the waterway systems? And what were and why? Let's see if I can move my camera here a little bit. So labor force is a big one because we have a lot of people who came together to build this complex system that we have in my background right there. The canals and waterways, deep water channels, the irrigation. It goes back to, for example, the Chinese labor force and all the way up to, present day government agencies like the Army Corps of Engineers, who I saw somebody from there. So, but, and also why, so we've got, flood control, reliable water supply, irrigation and things like that. Okay, I have Matt, do you raise your hand? Yes.
Yeah, I did. I feel like this land use theme assumes that engineering began at the colonial era. And I don't know that we can say that the pre-contact Delta was not engineered or designed by indigenous residents.
Okay, good.
So let's just stretch that timeline out a little bit and include, I don't know, less obvious forms of engineering and design.
Great. Yeah, I will share a document with you that I'm working on that also includes the suggested time periods. And so that goes along. So that'll be part of that interpretive framework. So that's a really awesome, point that you brought up, because all humans have impact the environment around them. It doesn't matter. It's not just the Americans and Europeans that came in. And we've had lots of discussion with the members of the Interpretive Task Group and the Delta Protection Commission Advisory Group, who are representatives from some of the tribal groups. So good comment here. Okay, this one, the Native American experience, we are working on getting several meetings together with the tribes to actually have them develop this theme. And we already have had, like I said just a minute ago, quite a few folks, well, probably not, we would love to have more, who are already part of the task groups and the advisory group from United Auburn Indian Community and other areas who have provided some comments. And so we've kind of created some of these themes based on the comments that we've gotten to date. So this is content in development. Any questions on this one? Okay. I might have to recategorize this one called People's Stories because it's confusing with Native American stories because we're all humans. It might be more of immigrant and American stories or something of that effect. But this is really about the story of who has come through the Delta, who has lived here, who still lives here, and how their cultures that they brought with them continue to thrive and have changed and created new cultures, like I think Matt was saying. And it's all the stories that we have potential to talk about, such as the Filipino, the Chinese, Portuguese, Mexican, other American groups. It's quite a long list, Japanese, and so on. And so their stories, your stories. Next one is about agriculture. So this one was a prominent theme because it is also the leading industry. A lot of the conversion that happened created a really good agricultural landscape. And it's also one of the most productive agricultural areas in the country. And so it really gets into, how agriculture came to be out here, what plants were and animals were grown or harvested, types of farming practices, the cultural farming practices that came with each immigrant group, the industry. So we've got Caterpillar tractor and the other technologies that were developed here that's made life a lot easier to do farming. And then also what's next in agriculture. Agritourism is a big thing. Ecotourism is a big thing. And so we've got a lot of this theme encompasses a lot of different topics. But also it shows the prominence of the Delta and its contributions to the greater United States and the world for the contributions for food production, but also for technology. Theme 5 is the importance of water. Of course, this is also a very prominent theme. Anything to do with how we use water and protection of the water and landscape and ecology. What has changed with water over time, needs of people, but also the effects of the engineered landscape on the habitat and the Delta smelt and the salmon and other estuary related habitats, things like that. And what are we doing to help preserve and protect them? And then we come to supporting themes. Supporting themes, I like to say they can fit into one or more of these categories that you just saw. So we can fit them all into and repeat them over and over again, or we can have them kind of off to the side and they relate to several things. So we've got artists, we've got transportation and recreation. And also on here, which I don't think I made it on here, was the military history. Was a very important theme that came up from our public meetings, actually. So that's another one. We have 4 total. Okay. Any questions before I talk about the interpretive provider survey? Any comments about the process so far? Okay. So
could I mention, I have one comment.
sure.
I'm having trouble with my video, but let's see here. I think of all of them, the one that is you don't have as specific a titling is people's stories. Seems to me to be a little bit vague. Maybe you could do something like towns and ethnic communities or something like that, because what you want to do is talking about people in the context of other people. You're not just talking about people, out there alone. You're talking about people in the context of other people. And so having something a little bit, what you really are interested in is people who lived in community. And those are 2 types. There were the towns, and then there were the ethnic neighborhoods. So you could, having something like that, I think, gives a little more definition to that.
I'm just resharing my screen. I want to make a note on here. Does that reflect, Bob, what you were talking about?
Where are you? I'm sorry, there's so much stuff on the, I'm not sure. Where are you?
Are you guys seeing my screen with,
Yeah, I see it says people's stories, and then there's a whole lot of other things on one side, and I don't see where you are, what you just typed in.
okay, so there we go. How's that? So I have people in communities, people living in communities.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that as a sub-theme. I was thinking of it as retitling people's stories.
Oh, okay.
I think people's story, everything else seems to me to be, when I look at it, I understand what it is, but people's stories is a kind of generic, and it's a little bit too general. So I think what I would have said there is something like, not people, but towns and ethnic communities, because that's really what you're talking about. And the stories that you will get will talk about the way people interact and their stories. Sure, if you want to have stories in there, their narratives or stories. Yeah, that's fine. If you insist on that, because I just think that that's what you're really is additive to the other things you're talking about. Is that experience of these communities.
And their experiences. Yeah. Okay. Great. We can wordsmith this a little bit later too.
Yeah, well,
Lynn?
I'm just throwing out an idea. I don't,
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. Okay, Linda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so this might be a little controversial, but
Bring it.
you see these themes, they look to me like facts
Mm-hmm.
than true interpretive themes, except for maybe the number 5, which is about the Delta being at the center of water wars, because that speaks to a conflict, to a struggle, to something that's going to make people think. Whereas these, and I think that's what's missing from these themes, those universal concepts of like loss or struggle or family, or all those, they need to be those kind of life experiences, those emotional. These are very intellectual. What's missing is the emotional aspect of a good theme that makes anybody be able to relate to it and think about, well, I wonder why that was, and want to know more.
Yes, and this is more or less just like the sub-themes are actual written sentences we have out and stuff. I wanted to make something more presentable, so it's not just a slide full of words. But yes, making it more evocative is very important. And so I can share some of the things I'm working on if you'd like to see it, as an example. But for example, these sub-themes are actual sentences in our document. They're not just topics here. Yeah, but
So
yeah, go ahead.
I think Linda has a very good point. If you want to catch people's attention, you will be holding things in tension. And so, for example, what makes agriculture interesting in the Delta is that nature is not, it's very rich, but it's also not benign in any way. So agriculture is a struggle against the natural environment. What makes the towns and communities interesting in their stories is that there was such pluralism. It wasn't just one ethnic group, it was a whole set of ethnic groups that had to somehow accommodate their life to each other. So if you can somehow build into your themes a sense of what makes those themes interesting in the Delta context.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'll share one page with you of what I'm been working on here.
Good idea, Linda.
Yeah. I'm usually working with folks who don't understand interpretation, so I try to make it more easier to digest.
Something vibrating there.
For example, for the topography, so if I can make it a little bigger. This is our revised theme. You know, and we end with the title, Understanding Its Past will help us with its future. And then it has we wrote a narrative that goes with each one to explain the context of what why this theme is important or how we came about it. And then here's some examples of our sub-theme or sub-themes. Like our state, the California Delta is contrary to what many believe is, making it a unique feature in the world, for example. These can be wordsmith much more, but I just wanted to show you the progression. So I can read them out loud, or I can, or I
No,
can.
it's not
Okay.
necessary to read them out loud now. I think, you know, that, but there may be things in here that you could draw back into the major theme to make it more thematic, I guess,
Make it more evocative, I think is what you're trying to say.
or provocative. That would be provocative.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is a draft.
Yeah, you want to provoke people. That's,
Yeah, you want tension, tension.
yeah.
I like
You don't have any
provoking
tension. This is,
provoking.
these are lifeless. They need tension.
And then so we have our themes and their sub themes, and then we have our associated topics. So when people will read this, they'll see a broad a list of things that fall under this theme. So it does have some structure. Yes, it probably needs to be wordsmith. I look at stuff that I did 5 years ago and go, oh, I can change that. So, and just think about this as a guide. This is a guide. This doesn't have to be, you don't have to copy and paste this onto a panel. You can use this as your framework for other things that you're developing. Elizabeth?
Hi, thanks. I join with appreciation for what Linda was saying, and I think it's what journalism does is it provokes through asking a question. Why are you interested in this? Or why is it a good agricultural area? Or why are there water wars? I mean, just you need to grab the attention. And so that, I think I want to join in that request, is that the titles are grabbing for attention.
So when you say title, when you say title, you mean this that I'm highlighting, or
yeah, like, and even the original title up on top, we just label it agriculture. Maybe the title is, why is agriculture the best in the Delta? And then talk about the challenges of, even though you have some of the soils, best soils, there are these huge challenges. But
yeah, I was thinking along those lines too. For example, if you're going to talk about agriculture, the fact is that, you know, the first farmers had to overcome these very difficult soils. And at the same time, they also destroyed a lot of the natural ecosystem, right? In order to eke farmland out of the Delta, and had, I mean, and so there's a lot of ways to talk about agriculture that are not just like, you know, I'm not being very articulate about this now, that are not just like, oh, there's a lot of agriculture here, that it's fertile. Yes, we know why is it fertile? What was lost to gain that fertility? Those kinds of concepts would make these themes more interesting.
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And this is not the theme right here, just if you understand, the theme is actually underneath here. This is just a type, this is just a category.
Yeah, but
Michael, you have your hand up? Yep, now you made.
Sorry about that. I'm on. Thanks, Katie. And these are really interesting points. I would recommend anybody who wants a quick read Freeman Tilden's interpretation, principles of interpretation. And there are 6 basic principles there that the only 2 I ever remember are to relate and provoke. So when you mention provocation, it's very often thought of as a negative. It's actually positive. You're provoking somebody to act or to think. And that these themes are indeed within development, and that when they're written in such a way that it could allow what you just mentioned, the good, the bad, and the ugly underneath each theme. So that answers the question, well, why is that an important theme? And people can have very different points of view. So I think as like a building block, this is one step getting towards something that I think is snappier, more evocative and provocative. I think you folks made some really good points here. Thank you.
Yeah, great. No, it's like I said, this is a culmination of tens of hours of meetings with a lot of different folks to narrow down what is important, and then trying to make that into one sentence, right? And so, yes, now that we've got it kind of boiled down to a sentence or 2, how do we make it more, provocative, evocative, leaving people with a question who want to know more about it, that's what interpretation does. Yes. So yeah, those are great points. And I'm going to be working with Mike and Trevor next week, hopefully, to help us with maybe crafting these themes a little bit more, and to your points. Putting you guys on the spot. So. Okay. Any other questions about or comments about these themes? I think you guys haven't seen this yet because we're working on this, but kind of where it's going. The next step, let me go back to my other slides and stop sharing. And I'll talk about the next steps. Okay, so let me go back and reshare the screen. Okay, are you seeing my PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. As you may know, when you're working on Zoom, all you see is these little boxes off to the side. So, Blake had published the in the newsletter, I think it was last week, Blake. We have a link to an interpretive provider survey, and this link, I'll also put it in the chat for you guys. We developed, oops, 2 different types of surveys. We want to have everybody who has a interpretive, who provides some sort of interpretation education, to give us some more information about what you do. And so this baseline survey is that basic one. And if you have something that's more, if you're at let's say Benicia Capitol State Historic Park, you would go to the site specific survey as well, which gets into more depth. And I can click on it and see if I can share it. Here it goes. I'm going to stop share, and then I'm going to reshare my screen to give you guys an example and why we're using this. Screen here. Okay. So this is the baseline survey. I'll see if I can make it a little bigger for you guys. Okay, where's my little in here? Can you guys see it okay? I'm not able to increase the size in the moment. Here it goes. Okay. All right. So if you're an interpretive provider, even if you do informal talks at a historical society or a library, for example, we'd like you to take the survey. So we get a baseline of what's out there, what's existing. So we have your email, position title, organization, address, and the types of information that that your organization presents. And we'll let you go on until your next one. And then if you have more, then it will take you to the other survey, which is more site specific. Goes into a little more detail. Okay, and won't let me go until I say so, until I type in some stuff here. Okay. You guys seeing my screen with it says goals and messaging right now?
No.
Okay. You need to share it then. Thanks, Blake, for putting that in there. So if you have more information than that you want to provide, then it drills down a little bit more. As to, what, yes, we have stuff, but actually, no, we want to do something in the future, or no, we're fine. We got everything we need. And then, why? Why is there no desire, for example? So it just kind of gives us a baseline of, it also says visitor experience goals. What are your top 3 stories that you interpret? What stories are missing or outdated? And then it has a little checklist of the types of messaging. And just some other basic things to get us a good baseline of what's happening in the Delta right now. Elizabeth, you have a question?
Yeah, I just need a clarification. So there's so much in Benicia, for instance, and some parts of Vallejo that are outside the boundaries, the statutory boundaries. Do we encourage the directors or the people involved with the various historical societies, et cetera, to respond?
We could put a zip code in here, but the problem is with zip codes is that it overlaps. I would say yes, let's just get a good picture and then we can sort it out later. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So great. Thank you for that, for Blake. So please share the link with other folks, because right now it's going out to only those who are on the that mailing list. And we're also sent it out to our state parks, for example. So Michael, if you could send it out to the East Bay folks, and Trevor to national parks folks who are part of the Delta, that would be great. And so what this will do is, go ahead.
Katie, I'll make sure to send it out to the people that are registered for the forum, even if they didn't, even if they're not with the Delta Heritage Forum.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, I misspoke. Even if they aren't, even if they don't get the Delta Heritage Courier, very much.
Great. So what this is going to do is it's going to help us define our baseline of interpretation in the Delta, and it's going to help us see where we might have gaps. But it also will look at be able to look at what what's complementary to each other, and then also because we want people to complement each other, not necessarily compete with each other over the same topic. But it's also going to give us a list of providers that we can put in the plans that you can look it up. If you're looking at this plan going, okay, well, I talk about dredging, but I see the Dutra Museum also talks about dredging. Maybe they'd be a good partner and we could do something collaborative. So it's also a good tool for folks who are developing interpretive plans or interpretive programs. So it's going to be very useful for us. And it'll also help us see where our gaps are, and then make our recommendations for improving interpretive programs and educational content in the future. So we're going to have this up for about a month, and after that we will tally everything together and start really writing our existing conditions of the interpretive plan, and then we'll start working on our goals. So let me go back to my screen here. So we're going to be developing, continuing to refine the themes, and then develop our interpretive goals and recommendations. And then that first draft of the interpretive plan will go out for public review. So people can comment on it, and we'll be able to make updates to that. So those are our next steps. So I know I didn't fill up the full hour, but I wanted to know if we wanted to do some open discussion, maybe get some more ideas, or go back to the Jamboard and see what people have written on there. Blake, is there anything else that you would like me to discuss, or?
No, although one of the things that I am a little curious about is that obviously the survey will be out, and people can provide kind of feedback on what, sort of what their experience is with interpretation. But I'm just wondering if you want to get a little bit more, if there are people out there that want to provide a little bit more detail and a little bit more explanation, what would be the best way to do that?
They can contact me. I'll put my name here on the chat. We will probably have appendices or separate files that documents that will come out of this. Usually we have a plan that's like this big, but our associated documents are this big. And those can be used as tools for other planning efforts, or so those kinds of things. It may not fit within the interpretive plan of the management plan, but they could be useful tools for folks when they're connecting with each other, for example. Okay. Anything else? We can go look at our Jamboard, see what people have been writing in here. Anybody have any comments or questions? So, we can continue to look at this as the types of experiences that people want to have for our goals and recommendations. And also, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I sort of was, during the break, I was kind of thinking about our discussion in the breakout groups, like which, what are the resources, or what are the sites on the Delta Trail, the Great Delta Trail, that people knew about. And we also talked a little bit about, where does what's the Delta Trail and what's the heritage area and what's the relationship between them. And I was kind of thinking I answered my own question in a way, which is that the sites on the Delta Trail that are part of the heritage area are the ones that are going to be able to tell stories about the relationship between the geography and the people, right? Going back to the definition that Blake read to us at the beginning. And so, maybe that will help sort out that difference between the trail, where people might just go just to recreate, just to have fun, or just for exercise or whatever, and the places people are going to go on the trail because there's some kind of cultural experience, heritage experience to be had there. And those places need to relate to the themes. So, there's that iterative relationship between what is the theme, where are where are the resources, and what is their significance. And I think that's where you get that. So what for the themes is, what is the significance of those resources? Why do we care about them? I don't know, maybe that's a little too pedagogical or whatever. But
no, not at all. Not at all. In fact, hopefully with that list of locations, we will also be able to tie it back to a matrix that shows where some of these themes are, good locations to interpret the specific.
Yeah.
theme. Yeah.
I think it's not too early to start that, making those, and kind of teasing out those relationships.
We had talked about doing a story mapping tool where people can click on a map and then see the story that related to that area on the map too.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an implementation tool. I think that the challenge at this point is to take the many stories and places in the Delta. I mean, if anything, this heritage area has like an embarrassment of riches in terms of the really interesting stories it has and the places you can go. It's a big heritage area. And excuse me, and then boiling that down to some really compelling stories that are going to gather those resources. It's not an easy job. I mean,
I've worked with you before on
yeah, I know it's hard. I commend you for taking this on.
yeah, I think I worked with you at Wilder Ranch. Did you work there?
Yep.
Yep. And at Calaveras Big Trees. Yeah. So yes, I appreciate your feedback because you're one of the ones who are practitioners in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think a couple of examples of that. I often go walking up out of American Canyon on a Napa River and on the levees and the restored wetlands, and the signage is pretty good. It links what had been going on and what the restoration efforts have been and are ongoing. That's one example. And then another really good example, and I think I mentioned this before in one of our meetings, is in Napa, they have the trail that goes through the actual industry, the industrial park by the river. And there's presentations along the way, both in our artistic and cultural way, but also linking the trail. And I think those are a couple of really good examples that would be useful because we have such varied things in the Delta, from pretty raw basic industry with the refineries in the Strait, and then all the way to the agriculture, the deep agriculture in the Delta and everything in between. And there is a lot there. And I think it needs to be addressed in a kind of creative way, not one way of approaching it because of these very different themes. So maybe that's my end statement, is that because of these themes, not each theme should be set up the same way because they're so different.
Yeah. Can you tell me again that the second location you mentioned?
So there's a trail in Napa that you go up by, I think it's Trancas and 29, and it links to the river, but you walk through an industrial section, and it's related to the development along the river, but the cultural expression doesn't say anything about that. It just links you to this cultural experience. But when you get to the river, then there are to the wetlands, there are the dioramas that describe what was going on, particularly with the salt ponds.
Great. I'd love to go check those out. Great. Anybody else? These are some fantastic things. So I'm really happy for this discussion. And Linda, I would like to pick your brain even more.
Yeah, well, I'm, if you want to set up another meeting to talk about these themes, or or invite me to come to one of your task group meetings or something, I'm happy to do that. I have lots of good examples, themes that, I think are really effective that I could share.
Yeah, that would be great. So So I'm meeting next week with East Bay Regional Parks in the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, just to kind of get some of the feedback. And then maybe after that, it would be, if anybody else is really interested in kind of the wordsmithing, we could set up a separate meeting for that. Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate all of the input here. Some really good. And I totally agree with everybody. I mean, these things are kind of dry as they are, but we wanted to get them down into something that is usable, and then we can make them more interesting. So definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah, it's been a fun project.
Katie, I'm sorry. It's Virginia. I just got off my other call. I have a quick question before you leave. Thanks for what I saw of the presentation. It was excellent. And I'm just wondering, in terms of themes, did we make available to you our document that we've sort of been working on in terms of the cultural, sort of overall broad landscape, cultural landscape of the Delta? It includes a lot of information about, you know, not only the industries, you know, the sort of successive waves of immigration and industries and types of activities, including, you know, building of the dredging out of the wetlands and building the levees. It's an internal document, but I think we might want to give it to you so you can take a look and see, you know, some of the other, there are a lot of overlapping themes.
Great. Yes, please do. And more the merrier. And we can always use it when it's finished as a resource for other folks to, you know, to refer to. Yeah, so Blake, can you get that to me?
Sure.
Okay.
Blake has an earlier draft. It's been updated. But I mean, he also may have that, but it would be, I think it would be useful.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Elizabeth, your hand is still up. I didn't know if you still had another comment or something. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Every time we do this, we learn a little. It seems to be very repetitive, so I appreciate that. But actually, we do. It does help quite refine and get us moving. So, thank you for your input and your interest.
Great. So we're going to be taking a break right now, and we'll be back at 5:30 for our fourth session. So does anybody have any questions before we take a break?
Katie, this is Mike Wright. I'm not sure if you mentioned this earlier. It's a little late in showing up today. Is there a place where folks can see these, or do you see a list of the themes? In development, we'll hold on to them for input at this point.
Blake, I think we had talked about publishing them to the DPC website, but do we want to wait till they're more refined?
No.
Yeah, I think we probably want to have something that we can at least, you know, discuss them on the interpretive planning task group. But yes, I think that it sort of is still, yeah, I think that it probably makes sense to have something that we can provide internally, and then we can publish something on the website soon.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it would be helpful to see it in context with everything else too. So it might be, you know, we might publish it, think about publishing it with as the draft chapter before we do the recommendations, and then get feedback that way.
What's the next phase or chapter at 5:30, please? The topic?
Oh yes, that will be from the presenters will be Point Heritage Development Consultants. Consulting team, and we'll be discussing the kind of overall management plan topics.
Thank you.